Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. The JAMODI podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products. This is a super unique question to ask you. Typically, the coaches that have been doing it for 30, 40 years answer the what would you do differently? But in a sense, you're about to start over because you've been at Liberty for 9 years, building relationships and a culture. Mm-hmm. You're going to Melissa. So you get to think about now the things that you wish you could have done, and you actually get to do it. So what's something you do differently if you could start over, let's just say at a program?
Yeah. So I think, I think initially, you come in with the mindset of humility, and that was, and I'm not saying I didn't the first time, but I'm saying like going into this, really being humble, because there are things and there are people and there are systems in place that are there currently that, frankly, I don't necessarily know completely or may be foreign to me, completely. So really just coming in with humility and really trying to, listen and learn and kind of, like I said, bridge build when it comes to that. Getting to know the staff, really getting into initially like introducing yourself, just a simple hello, saying hi to everybody on campus, just knowing who you are, who they are, and just building that, name, face recognition and stuff. Program piece of it, really, when it comes to, we're going to have assistant coaches there that have been there for a little bit and everything. And so really listening to them and being an ear, and just being a sponge, again, we talked about being egoless. It's not about like, yes, I'm the head coach of the program, but this is our program. It's not mine solely. So I'm really big on empowering coaches and giving coaches a voice and stuff. And so really just getting them the opportunity to tell me what's going on and learning the cardinal way, essentially, and all that stuff, because I think sometimes we can come into a situation and like really go guns a-blazing, like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this impact. I'm going to make sure that, our kids are doing X, Y, Z. And it sometimes feels forced and kind of overbearing, and again, going back to my college coach, when Coach Shepard went to college at the Ozarks, he kind of did the same thing. He was coaching at a high school and then went to college, and a guy had been there for a long period of time. And he came in and slowly but surely started like working in things, and so that kind of made his transition a lot smoother. And so for me, it's that, really trying to build relationships, not forcing anything, coming in, serving the community, but being authentic about it, not doing it, for, attention, but doing it just for the good intentions, if you will, and then after you build that relationship up, then you just wait for that, connection and that response piece that they're going to give you, and then, eventually you'll kind of build that bridge to where they have respect for you and all that type of stuff. So just taking it slow, honestly. I was fortunate to start here as a teacher, and then, kind of moved up the ranks. And so I really didn't have to, people didn't have to necessarily get to know me as the head coach. They kind of knew me as teacher first. Yeah. Oh, he's a coach, he's this, and kind of built up to that. Whereas like right now, it's a different, framework. I'm coming in as a coach and, had a good program coming from, things like that. So it's a whole different lens that people are looking at it from. But like at the end of the day, if I'm going to be able to come in there, I have to come in there with humility and go in there and just serve and just really try to, pour in places and just be a sponge. That's the main thing. So,
man, I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, because I would imagine the impulse, and I think I did that here a little bit. The impulse is to, within your program, but without realizing it, you can do it in the classroom, do it with with other teachers too, is, listen, I'm here. I don't really care about what you've done in the past or the old way. Here's the new way. And there are times where that might be necessary. Like, let's just say you're at a place where there is no culture, or the culture was super negative. Well, I happen to know a little bit about Melissa basketball. It was a program that when I was at McKinney, I really looked up to, because again, that name, Hondo Webb, I coached against him, but it was, because Melissa, they played McKinney at one time, kicked our tail. And I was just I loved everything about what the program was about, everything. So you do have that rich history. And then, man, great job of thinking about those assistants you have, because that's one thing I've struggled in the past is I think sadly, I almost enjoy a little bit, or would rather sometimes, being a one-man show. Like, just it's in my head, I'm going to go with it. I struggle to slow down and to ask for input, but like recognizing that you got those assistants, they will have valuable information about relationships, culture, some background information that, man, you really, it's good that you knew that. So that's impressive that you're seeing it that way.
Yeah. No, and that's the beauty of being able to, kind of, like you said, start anew, if you will, because I think the main thing is just, again, kind of fighting the urge to go in and shake things up, because like at the end of the day, even if the person that was there before you, the culture was good or bad, either way, you're a different person than whomever was there before, so you can have, you can do 10 things in a row and check the boxes and everything, but two different people are saying it and doing it, you can have a different result. You know what I mean? So you want to make sure that, you're being yourself, you're being authentic at the same time, but, just humility, that's the big thing. I mean, I can't, everything in life that happens, you have to kind of come in right here, and not try to come in like this, because if you come in like this, you're going to lose a lot of people in that gap, so if you come in right here, you can all kind of lift up together. And that's kind of where, I'm trying to approach it. So.
Coach, you ever watch the show Suits?
Oh yeah.
I just thought about Harvey Specter talking to Mike, and he says, a lot of guys are right here.
Yeah.
I like it here. Right. So when you did that, it just made me think of, all right. Yeah. Yeah. But you're right. Like the idea, like the Harvey Specter idea of just steamrolling over people.
Yeah.
And being like, one, it's a show. I get that. But there are people that try to do that. In our profession, it takes a village, man. And so like we need a lot of people involved. And a question about, so when I came to Faith, I basically took the style of play that we had created at McKinney, brought it over. And I'm telling you, I got lucky. Great seniors, great players. The style of play that I brought in happened to work for them, kind of like lightning in a bottle thing. But then unfortunately, and I've kind of apologized to years 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 of still finding myself and experimenting with them and styles of play and not really understanding what works best for this clientele and whatnot. Are you bringing over a style of play that, like, not that you're set in stone, but this is what I like, and I'm pretty sure I can bring these guys in? Or are you kind of going over with a blank slate of, I'm not sure what works with these guys, and I'll figure that out?
Yeah, I got you. So I think it's kind of crazy. I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's both. You know what I mean? What I mean by that is that, like, when you have a certain game model, and your game model for me would be like, I want to run, I want us to get out in transition, I want us to flow into whatever we're flowing into, and I want us to be fighters, man. I want us to, like, be the first to the floor, I want us to take charge, I want us to make tough plays, I want us to fight on the offensive end. And fighting on the offensive end for us is like, let's pass up the good to get the great shot. Let's do a long possession here. We need to kind of slow it down and have that, mental awareness and stuff like that. So when your game model is, run, flow, fight, regardless of what your system is going to be, if you're doing those 3 things, if somebody's watching you play, they should be able to say, this team runs, this team, gets into their stuff pretty quickly. Man, their transition defense is great. This team is a team full of fighters, man. These guys are tough. They play hard. They play the right way. They play with a certain confidence that they have, that borderlines on cockiness, that shows that they have that, that grit and that tenacity and everything. So, there's a style of play. I mean, typically these last couple of years, we've, run a ball screen motion offense, essentially where, the ball is moving, but we have, pace and space. Defensively, we've had more years. We get after, we pressure a little bit more, which that's kind of been a staple of everything we've done. But at the same time, though, whatever your philosophy is going to be, which mine would be pretty similar, I would think initially, you have to make sure there's buy-in and make sure your players can adapt to that, and I think that, you can adapt to your players. Like some classes we have that, we're going to have classes. I had one group, my first year here, we were huge. We started 4 guys that were above 6'6". Our point guard was 6'4". I'm in a 5A school, and so I'm sitting here like, okay, the last 3 years I was here, we ran a run and jump press where we got after it, picked you up 94 feet. And I'm like, okay, I have, 3 kids over here that can, they can touch the sideline standing side by side, sideline to sideline. So I'm like, look, let's try to mix it up. So we go 1-3-1, Now we still ran, we still flowed into our stuff, I still wanted to have a team full of fighters and everything, but the way it looked was different. Flash forward to this year, I have one guy who's above 6'5", and so now we were athletic, but I mean, one guy that can actually, that had a little bit of size. So we still wanted to run, get out in transition. We still wanted to flow into our stuff. And then we wanted to fight. It just looked differently. It just looked different when it came to like what was on the court. But when it comes to like how we play, though, there should be a distinct style of play regardless, and now the X and O's part of that may be a little bit different. But like as far as how we play and what it looks like, it should be the same. So
yeah, well said, man. And I think what you're saying, like concepts can travel 100%. From place to school.
Exactly.
But maybe the continuity, maybe what defensive you choose might differ based on your personnel, but the concepts that you teach, you can continue to tweak and mold those. So I completely 100%. Get that, man.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for the opportunity because here I have 3 middle school feeders. So but they're not direct feeders. So I don't know. As far as we can go down in the middle schools in Frisco and show visibility, especially where I'm at.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought you were talking about Melissa has 3.
No. Melissa, Frisco has 3 feeders. They're like,
yes.
And like, so where I'm at, like, I can't really. It's harder to instill those concepts because of the 30 of these kids I'm not even going to get. Some schools, 9% of the kids we won't get. Some schools we'll get a little bit, and it varies from class to class. Whereas, like, one of the things I'm really excited about is that some of those concepts, that you can develop. I mean, in high school, you can develop those in the middle school, and you can have a direct feeder to where, like, yes, it may not look the same when it comes to skill level and talent level, but they're still doing the same thing the Cardinal way where they're running, they're flowing, they're fighting, we're building those concepts and skill sets then. So when they get to high school, now it's just, I always say like varsity is where you do your junk, you know what I mean? So like we might throw a 1-3-1. We might throw like some run and jump stuff. We might, box and one possession, just little things like that, because like you're trying to get that win in that game. But like when kids are developing and trying to learn though, that's more of like what your universal concepts for your program should be. So I'm really excited to kind of build that up there. And that's something I haven't had the opportunity to really do like I want to. And so I can't wait.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.